I'm Carole Baskin, and this is the Cat Chat Show. Today with me is Glenn and Donna Williams, and they are two recent big cat rescuers because they have really been reaching out about Cecil the Lion. And I know you guys all care deeply about what happened to that cat, and this is how I discovered Glenn and Donna. And when I heard their story and how they've been working for all kinds of cats for a long time, I thought you guys might really enjoy hearing from them. So, can you guys kind of fill in our audience with how it was that Cecil impacted you? And then we'll go back after you talk a little bit about that and talk about how you've been trying to help cats up until then.
Okay. Well, certainly when the news broke, I've always had a fascination or just a love, particularly for the big cats. And this goes back to when I was a child. I remember being 4 or 5 years old and running around in my tiger print pajamas that my parents bought for me. And back then, there's something about, I can't say what it is, but of course, I've always loved nature and animals in general, but particularly the big cats. I've always just had a close affection for them and a closeness. And, it's really odd because I kidded Donna that we had recently gone on a trip. And I told her that one of the goals of that trip for me was to perhaps reignite my passion for writing and for photography, because I've always loved to do both of those, but in recent years have not been doing much of either other than business writing. And shortly after we returned, this issue came up, and for me, just something woke up within me. I don't know what it was. And I just, all of a sudden, this passion, I just started to type, and the words just fell out on the paper, and I couldn't stop. And ever since then, it's really opened up my creative writing and my drive. And I've decided, well, I'd asked for this and it was given to me. And certainly I didn't ask for this in the manner that I would have preferred something else to stimulate my writing desire. But since this has happened, I'm hoping that I can make a difference. And I feel like that in some small way, I am making a difference in doing this. And I'm just, again, any way I can do to get the word out. And of course, I shared the story with Donna, and she can talk a little bit also about that. But, she's the same thing. I mean, that's what probably one of the things that always brought us close together is the fact that we've always had a love for animals and for nature. And that's kind of surrounds much of our life. It evolves around that. So it's just a story that's just really touched us. And I don't think either one of us would have guessed that it would have touched us like it did, but it has.
Yeah, when you emailed me, you were telling me how Donna had such a strong, heartfelt reaction to this
Yes.
story. So yeah,
Yes.
I'd love to hear how this kind of grew between you and how you took it forward from there.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I just couldn't stop crying. I mean, it just impacted us so much that I was just so tired of whenever something ever happens in life, you always feel like you don't have the answer. You don't feel like that you do make a difference or that you can make an impact in the world. And I think that we just try to just decide to come together and do something about that. And Glenn's always had such a beautiful gift on writing, and I was just so thankful that he could write something that made an impact, and he does make a difference. And we don't want this to ever happen to any other animal. I mean, Cecil, thank goodness Cecil had a name. And I think every animal should have a name, just because animal has the right to be on this planet and be able to live and be what they need, for us, because they give so much, and we need them to be here and to survive. And I just feel that Cecil was able to impact for every animal, to give them all the rights, to show them that. I'm starting to ramble, so I'm sorry. I'm going to let Lynn talk now.
But, and Carole, when you were so nice to offer us to be on Cat Chat, I started thinking about that, and I started to look at the numerous interviews you've had, and I said, wow, I said, I'm really flattered that you would do this, because I look at the other guests you've had on your show, and you're talking about people that have spent their life helping animals and fighting these causes, and I'm thinking, wow, well, how in the world do we fit in? What can we offer that all these other people, have done, because we strive for what they've accomplished. And I apologize for looking now because I wanted to make sure I got this quote right. But the one quote that really hit me hard with this whole issue is one by Edmund Burke, who said, "No one made a greater mistake than he who did nothing because he could only do a little." And another one, of course, he's a 17th century philosopher, but someone more modern, Andy Andrews, he said, "Everything you do matters." And the Andy Andrews quote, that's always been in the back of my mind since I've heard that probably 4 or 5 years ago. The Edmund Burke quote was more recent. But I think they both really hit hard on this. And what has really amazed me and inspired me is the fact that if this happened 3, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, it never would have gotten the traction, simply because social media back then was not what it was today. Maybe it would have made the national news as it did for a few days, but afterwards, the next tragedy or the next big news event would come aboard, and this would fade to memory. And as I had referenced in my narrative that I wrote about it, and said, most of us tend to initially be very angry about this and demand justice, but as the story fades, we all kind of get back into our regular, ordinary lives, and we're still upset about it, but we just don't think, well, there's anything we can really do about it. But in this case, that didn't seem to be the case. I mean, sure, the national news, of course, they went on to newer stories, but this seemed to pick up momentum. And looking at following Facebook and Twitter accounts and other websites that are constantly continuing to publish articles, and hopefully, as I've tried to emphasize with my writings and with my comments, is that it's not about Cecil or Cecil, but he is the agent of change, and he is the face. He is the, if he could talk, if he was alive, he would be the spokesman for this cause. But because he's not, we need to be a spokesperson. And I think that unfortunately, a lot of the pro-hunting, pro-choice organizations, they have been able to continue their trade and maintain their industry kind of in secret. People certainly knew it occurred, but even Dona said she had no idea that it was to the level it was. And I know they probably have as much despise and hate for the dentist as a lot of the anti-hunting people do, because he kind of revealed their secret. And now that it's out, there are a lot of people that are angry out there. And going back to this quote, and that's what I try to emphasize, the fact that, for all of us, particularly people such as yourself, now you're in this full-time, you do this living, you people definitely make a difference. But the rest of us that maybe are not active in that sense, but we have to know that we can make a difference. And for all of us together pushing these causes and signing petitions and contacting our Congress people and demanding change. And that's what we're trying to push, because it's not just a legal issue. This specific issue is with Cecil, obviously, but and I apologize if I'm rambling too much myself, but one other comment I really wanted to make, because this is something that touched me deeply a number of years ago. And when we go back to our lives, there are always certain instances and certain key events that occur in your lives that impact you. And maybe it's an action, maybe it's hearing someone say something, who knows. But a number of years ago, I was attending a conference, and one of the speakers at the conference was a professor named Marianne Jennings, who was a professor with Arizona State University. And she speaks on ethics. And she started talking about the whole issue of when we are making decisions about what we're going to do with life, whatever that decision is, that you should consider both what she says, could I and should I? And could I is the legal aspect of it. When you ask yourself the question, okay, I'd like to do this, is it legal? And if the answer is yes, then most of us will say, okay, well, the next step should be, should I? And that's the ethical and the moral component of that. And unfortunately, because we all have egos, and if we're asking the could I question, we already want to do whatever that is. We're just saying, okay, can I do it legally? And if we can get past that point, then we're saying, okay, it's good to go. I'm going to do it. But we really need to ask that should I question. That is, ethically, morally, is it the right thing to do? Does that hurt somebody? Does it hurt something? And I think that's where, we as a society, to a large degree, have kind of lost our compass and lost our direction, because, and I look at trophy hunting in that regards, and and I've tried to make a distinction that when we're talking about Cecil and talking about this, we're talking specifically the trophy hunting, the can hunting, that type. I mean, we can talk about the whole issue of hunting for food, etc., vegans versus non-vegans, but this specific issue is around this issue. And ethically, there's absolutely nothing that is accomplished by shooting these innocent animals. And the whole idea of this being conservation, as I've kidded, I said, I need to find where that dictionary is. I said, because the dictionaries I look at, the definition of conservation, there's nothing in there that talks about needing to kill something to save something. And I struggle with that. And I have to admit, I guess whoever from the pro hunting side came up with the idea of let's start treating our hunters and referring to these people as conservationists, then somehow it's taken hold. And I'm not sure who sold that idea, but they did a brilliant job, because a lot of people have bought that argument and bought that idea that yes, hunters are conservationists, and maybe there are a handful out there that actually practice the conservation they're talking about, but I would say by and large that's not the case. And so I feel like from our perspective, what we're trying to do is, hopefully, like a lot of the people out there are doing, we're just trying to get the word out, keeping the story going, not letting it dying. And that means writing articles. That means sending comments. That means contacting your congressional leaders, whatever that is. That's what we're trying to do.
And I don't know if I need to say anything about that, going back to where the question you had asked, how did it impact me? I mean, I literally was shocked that I kept thinking that this was old news back in the, I don't know, 40s or 20s, that nobody I thought we all evolved at a level that we would be so educated that this would never even happen. So took me a while to really grasp that it was going on. And I think a lot of people may feel that same way. They don't believe it's true. And if they don't believe it's true, then they just kind of pretend, not do anything at all. And the difference, it doesn't, the change will not happen, that needs to be made. So I don't know.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think you guys are just perfect spokespeople for this, because of
Thank you.
Well, it's because of the fact that you are so mainstream American. I mean, you're not you're not zealots of any particular stripe,
Right.
and it tells me so much about how, and you mentioned this a minute ago when you were talking about mainstream media. This story started in social media, and it was mainstream media that then picked it up from the social channels, because they couldn't ignore it any longer. It was just so important, and people were so concerned about this lion that mainstream media had to cover it. And
it's, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, that was kind of one of those big shifts, I think, that has finally happened for the animals, is that now mainstream media realizes people really care about this, and they don't know that this sort of thing is happening because the mainstream media hasn't been reporting it.
That's right. Yeah. In fact, it was interesting because I was actually making some notes last night, and that was one of the questions. In fact, it was related to a Jane Goodall article that I wrote. That I read yesterday. Mm-hmm. And of course, the question she asked was a question a lot of people ask. It's like, well, would this have been a story if he didn't have a name? And And then, of course, she asked the question of, why is Cecil any more important than any other animals? And it kind of surprised me she asked that question, because her of all people, and I guess maybe a lot of people still think that too. They think it's about Cecil, but it's not about Cecil. There may be a handful of people that are just angry about that, but it's the broader picture. And she's absolutely right. And that was a comment I'd written, is that, yes, you're absolutely correct. He's no more important than the other 600 plus lions that are shot solely or killed solely to become trophies, and he's no more important than all of the other lions at risk. And I think that's what people don't really understand either, is that aside from the 600 lions that are senselessly killed in this manner, there's that great risk, as we know, that as cruel as it sounds, that lions practice infanticide. And so when a male lion another male lion takes over pride, and if the lion cubs are there, he most likely kills them because he wants to sire his own. And of course, the female lions are willing to fight to their death. And for example, in Cecil's case with his pride buddy Jericho is certainly going to risk his life too. So at the end of the day, it's not just Cecil, it's not just the other 600 lions. It's take that and multiply that times how many you want to multiply that, by. And those are the animals at risk. And the comments you made that, yes, and as I said, he's no more important than any of the lions out there. He's no more important than any of the 3,000 remaining tigers out there, or any of the other big cats, or the other endangered species. And that is where the awareness. We're trying to get that information out and make sure that if there's something we can do, we certainly are going to do everything we can to make a difference.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Glenn. Do you have the article that you read to me about the quote with Lincoln on how we need to actually have that every animal actually should not be called animal, that it should be, we should not degrade them as the name animal, but actually have a name for them.
Yeah.
And that it's not that Cecil is not no more important. He is as important as the rest of these animals on this planet.
Yes.
He is just as important as you and I are, because we all are energy, and we all have rights.
That's
and
right.
We all have a place to serve on this planet, and so animals have a place.
Yeah.
It would just like anyone, and to take a precious life is to take energy or your inner self away from this planet, and it's just you're imbalancing everything.
Right. Yeah. And I can't find the exact quote, but I do have another one from Abraham Lincoln, which he said, "I care not much for a man's religion whose dog and cat are not the better for it." So
I love that.
I thought that was great. But I know what I lost my train of thought when I started talking about the Jane Goodall.
That was me. I'm sorry.
No, that wasn't you. I'm glad you talked, because I had a chance to think about it. What I was going to say was, that was the other thing. Again, why did Cecil's story become bigger than life, or become bigger than any other one out there? And I think it was a perfect storm. And as you had noted about social media, I think that's the other piece of it. Is certainly the older generations that were brought up on mainstream media, newspapers, they continue to get a lot of their news from those sources. But the younger generations, they're not. They're relying almost exclusively on social media, and that's a true evolution of the world that obviously the old media companies are struggling with, and trying to figure out how do we take advantage of this as well. But that's where the news is coming. And again, if it wasn't for Twitter and Facebook and then again a lot of the websites out there, such as yours and other ones that are constantly putting out articles that affect us, the people reading these, and it's really gaining a movement. Whereas before, unfortunately for the animals, you could hide this, because again, it just didn't make the news. If it made the news, it made the news for a day or so, and then it was gone. So this is a perfect example of how social media will really control so much of what people see and believe and learn out there. And so you can use it also to your advantage of trying to communicate with others and getting the word out, which we certainly are seeing a lot of the, there have been several Facebook accounts that have established solely for justice for Cecil and for the animals. And, they've been really good about trying to promote and trying to get information out to everybody about, what's going on out there, and people that have maybe been able to get away with hiding certain events or certain things they're doing. They no longer can do it because there are a lot of people out there looking. And with smartphones that have cameras and videotape capabilities, that you see something, and not just obviously with Cecil, but we're seeing that a lot throughout the world. If there's some event that happens, that people are capturing these events with their own cell phones, videos, and you can't hide anymore in today's world. And so the whole issue of legality and ethics and things like that, that really starts to come up even more, because, like I said, you just can't hide. You can't hide what you're doing anymore.
What I love is that not only did this story reach you guys and have an impact on your hearts, but to me, the most important thing was that you then launched into action. And you launched into that action, it seemed like, from what you told me, not really knowing where you were going to go with it.
Right.
And then I know you've now been published in One Green Planet, I think it was. And
Yes.
I think they have readership of like 5 million people. So your
Yeah.
story has gotten out to huge numbers of people.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit. Yeah, you should at him.
but you're downplaying your own organization too, because your organization has a huge reach too. And you're right, because when I first started writing this, I said, I don't know what I want to do with it. I don't know why. And I said, part of it's just therapeutic for myself, but I got to write something. I've got to say, because and the reason I felt the need to do it was I was reading a lot of, I wouldn't say fallacies, but there was a lot of stuff being thrown out there that I felt like it was almost just to kind of confuse the issues. The whole issue of like, well, would this, have been an issue if Cecil didn't have a name, or, when pro animal groups, people start speaking up and people say, well, wait a minute, if you eat steak, or if you eat beef or chicken or fish, you're a hypocrite, and this and that.
Yeah. Or they throw religion with it.
Right, exactly.
Because religion always gets thrown in.
Of course. And the people that said, well, there's more important issues out there. And, and I know that's the pet peeve for a lot of people. Like, okay, wait a minute. So I'm only allowed to be upset at one issue at a time. I'm not allowed to have concerns, because every other issue, people go, well, this is an issue. And I'm thinking, yes, they are too. You're right. And we're all upset about those too. But, you are allowed to have more than one, one issue that you have, that you need to address, that you want to fix. But yeah, I think so. When I first started writing it, that was kind of the purpose of it. I was like, let's get to the heart of the matter. And the heart of the matter is for this specific issue is trophy hunting. Is, what is the purpose? What is the benefit of it? This so-called conservation, etc. That's been the big issue. And all this other stuff is just fluff. It's thrown out there for confusion, to maybe, throw the rear off the subject. And I just felt like I needed to write about that. And as the words started coming on the page, they started getting longer and longer. And I told Donna, I said, I plan to put this on my Facebook page, but it's going to be, it may be 5 or 6 pages long. And she said, don't worry. She said, just write it. Don't even think about the number of pages. Of course, at the end of the day, it was closer to 10 pages. And I didn't know what to do with it at that time. And Carole, somehow, I'm not sure why, but things happen for a reason a lot of times. When they are, some reason I came across your name on Facebook, and I recognized your name, but I'm thinking, I can't remember where her name I recognized it from, but I reached out, and of course you accepted my friendship invitation, and then I
read your article.
Yeah,
I liked it.
and I just said, I've got this article I wrote. I don't know what to do with it. I'd love to send to you and maybe read it, let me know. And of course you were so nice to not only read it, and next thing you know, you're saying, I'm putting it on, our page here. And
I am just so proud of Glenn. I mean, he is just he's always been a beautiful writer. It's just a form of art. And I'm just so thrilled that he's able to take his passion, because he's always had a love for all animals. And ever since we've known each other, it's his heart. And actually, I think it speaks deeper, considering the fact that he doesn't work in that environment. His environment is totally the opposite, and yet, he still has that great passion for it. And I believe that, and we know that if we didn't have to have a job to pay the bills and things like that, he would be out there every day.
Oh, I'd love to do this.
This is what his soul is truly meant to be doing. And I'm just so proud that he's able to make a difference and put all his beautiful words into action where it needs to be.
And I really understand the term writer's block. I felt like it was a physical block, and I said, it's like once that block was cleared, everything just started flowing, not just this article, but other things I've written, and it's kind of inspired our passion, because Dona is an artist, and I know we'll talk about her.
It's not about me.
This is about you guys.
She is an incredible talent. Her brain is constantly, running at 90 miles an hour, thinking about this art project or that art project or this invention or that book or like that. She had written a children's book a number of years ago, and we've kind of picked it up again, and we said we need to start, shopping that, because it's a great book, and she's come up with some other ideas that she's come up as well. And I guess the good thing, and maybe what brought us together, is Dona is severely dyslexic, so for her
am I.
Are you really?
Oh gosh, it's painful.
I'm sorry.
It is. It is. So she's now with our iPads, has the built-in microphone, which was just a lifesaver for her, because.
And we haven't been on Facebook. I was afraid of it. We've only been on it about 4 months.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
In fact, I told her just to handle my account at first, because I didn't have time for it either myself. So she was doing both of ours. But the microphone's been a godsend for her, so she can interact with people using that, because for her to type or or write something is very difficult to do. So
I feel so bad. I'm always going back to Glenn and saying, "Can you read this?" We haven't figured that part out.
So we're trying to figure out how do we get from her ideas of writing something from her mind to my typing to my brain, whatever. So we've got our different things, using the microphone or using a tape recorder or whatever like that. But we really want to start doing more of that, because it's just, it's a passion for both of us. And if there's things we can do, we always kind of kid the fact that we're those people, and there's people that animals seem to find you rather than you finding them. I can't tell you how many times we've had, cats show up in our back door, and we've taken them in and turned around and try to find homes for them. It's just that they seek us out, and I'm sure you probably relate to that too, because obviously, you have that same love for animals. So
just bigger cats.
Just bigger cats, right? Yes.
I used to work at an art gallery called Classy Cat that was all just artwork for cats.
Oh, nice.
So that's what kind of got me into also doing a lot of artwork for cats itself. And so that's it.
She's incredibly talented.
Oh, thank you. and Glenn and I met each other on a blind date. I was in an art show, and I met his parents, and they were in the roof next to me, and I just fell in love with his parents, and I knew that if he was anything like them, I had a catch. So that's how we met, through a blind date. We talked, put on the phone for months before we even saw each other. So
yeah, and they say that sometimes you wonder, do I have the same taste as my parents? Because my parents only set me up on a blind date. I'm thinking, okay. But we had such a wonderful initial conversation with each other that that I said, okay, I'll give it a chance, and
I thank you.
and I think and it's funny, we dated for a while, but it wasn't ever that serious. And I think what really caused us, or the common bond that probably made us more serious and brought us together
It's our
was
passion for nature.
yeah, for nature and
hiking.
hiking and you know, I kidded our first real trip we took together. We went out to Las Vegas and you know, we went out for 3 or 4 days. Well, because that's natural, but we spent, I think we spent
A
$1.
dollar gambling.
Yeah.
And
But we
that
were
was it.
we were out at Red Rock Canyon and going to Hoover Dam and going to Grand Canyon. So you're right, yeah.
And seeing the wild horse. Just,
Exactly,
you
yeah.
know, just anything that nobody was at.
Yeah.
We
So
were hiking.
that's right. So since then, it's, you know, our constant, you know, every time we go on a trip someplace, it's always about nature. It's always about, okay, what national park there? What's botanical gardens there? Where can we hike? Where can we photograph? Because that's something that, you know, both of us have liked. You know, I've always, this has been one of my passions as well. And I've always kid that Donna, as an artist, she's actually a better photographer than I am. But we both, we love to take photographs, you know, and capture those. So anything nature related really just kind of brings us home. I mean, we feel natural in that environment. And of course, you know, obviously, you know, with the animals, and sometimes I'm hesitant to talk about the fact that, you know, we'll go to zoos in other cities because, you know, zoos are kind of those controversial, you know, areas these days because, you know, obviously they have animals in artificial habitats. I do believe though that with a lot of them, for example, I can particularly speak on Zoo Atlanta, our zoo here. They've done a fabulous job of, you know, years ago, I think they made the decision of trying to go from quantity of animals to quality of the habitats. And there are not as many animals there, but they've spent just significant investments to create natural habitats for the animals to give them lots of room. And that's a good thing. And I guess, you know, in natural settings. And, you know, again, I would love, I kind of think as you've talked about with Big Cat Rescue, you would prefer ideally that, you know, you were not even in this business. I mean, you would love that people would not decide that a tiger or a lion would make a wonderful house pet or one of these roadside, you know, circuses.
I wouldn't want to be
wouldn't exist. Yeah. Yeah. And kind of the same thing with zoos. Ideally, they would not exist at all because we wouldn't need them. But they do provide one benefit. Obviously, there are a lot of kids that see them and they're able to see animals up close. Hopefully, together, you know, an appreciation for them. But you know, I think we're certainly like you that in a perfect world of nirvana, that all animals would be, you know, free. They wouldn't be in any cages. They wouldn't be locked up. They'd be free to roam in their, you know, national habitats. It's and I guess that's ultimately the goal we should all strive for. But you know, in the meantime, we can do little things here and there to make a difference, and that's all we're here for.
And we visit big cats too.
Oh yes, yeah. I think I told you that we had, you know, this, and I know you said we don't have to talk about how wonderful Big Cats is because people watch the show are already big fans, but I wanted to emphasize that because when I read, you know, some people still don't understand big cats. They think, you know, you should be like a zoo too, that you pay admission, you go and see all the animals, and people are upset because, well, we show these empty cages because the animals are back sleeping someplace, and they don't understand. It's like the purpose of big cats. It's you put the priority on what is best for the animals and not the people, which means that sometimes you may walk, you may not see them, but just you'll take such good care of the animals. In fact, I have to tell you, I guess y'all did a video a while back, and it had referenced, hey, the way the video was described is that some organization had snuck in and they were secretly capturing the rescue workers, the volunteers, working with the animals. That sound like it's some type of scandalous type of, you know, this is what they're really doing.
I know the one you're talking about.
You know, yeah. So what really that was?
They're baby talking.
They were baby talking to the animals. I can show it to you.
No, I haven't seen that.
So, but it's yeah, this did such a wonderful job, and it just moved us so much. I mean, when we did our first tour, you know, I think Denny was the gave us the tour.
Yeah.
and he was so informative, and it was just such a good,
Oh,
and we just fell in love with, with everything that you had done, and really commend. We wish we lived in the Tampa area, because we
we'd be
probably
there
would be
every
there every
day.
day and probably volunteering and things like that. But
I think we went when you had the Christmas trees out in their cages, had
Yeah.
them with the Christmas trees.
that's right.
That was amazing
Wow.
to see
Yeah.
them enjoy the scent of that, because, they are just like cats. They love the smell, and we forget, that they have those qualities, just like we,
Just like the small
our
pets.
cats, and we do.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, and we do.
We're getting down to like the last 15 minutes, so I want to go over some of Donna's art,
Yes.
which is just absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I'm going to see if maybe you guys can share your screen. Are you logged into Facebook right now?
Let's see.
Can you log into your whisker-art?
Let's see. Yes, I think I can do that. Hold on.
Is it whisker-art.com that takes people to the
Yeah,
Facebook page, or is it Facebook? They just search for whisker-art.
it's just the Facebook. She does have a website that is the www.whisker-art.com, but we have much more of our artwork is actually on the Whisker Art Facebook page.
And it looked like you had updated since I was there, so I thought if you can share your screen, then maybe what you can do is go through some of those albums and talk about what inspired you to do those.
I don't even remember what's up there. When I did start with Whisker, I met with Classy Cat when I worked there. I had worked there for, gosh, how long? 12 years?
Yeah.
And it's funny, as I was a part-time employee, I just helped for Christmas. And then they asked me to be the manager, and I kept saying, you don't want me. I'm dyslexic. I don't do paperwork. I don't do time scheduling and everything like that. And so they said, we'll, I said, we'll work here until you find someone. Well, 12 years later,
Yes.
I'm still there. And unfortunately, I had gotten stage 4 melanoma, and at the same time that things happen for a reason. The art studio closed down just right when I found out I had stage 4 melanoma. So I had to take some time to heal myself, and still fighting that cause today. I've had 11 different surgeries and different things. So I guess my mission is to tell everyone to remember to go get their bathing suit checked out on their birthday. And be sure to wear sunscreen if possible, even twice a day, and especially in the winter months as well. I was never really a sunbather, but sometimes cancer doesn't care if you did or didn't. But I know that if I didn't take all the precautions that I did do with healing, I when back in 2002, I had with stage 4, a year they told me to get my life in order. So I'm still here, and hopefully my mission here is to help big cats.
Yes.
So
yes.
I was misdiagnosed with cancer back in the 90s, and I put my whole life in order because I figured, I've only got a year or so.
Yeah.
And I tell everybody, man, you should live like you are dying, because we're all dying. And
Yes.
when you have that deadline in front of you, all of a sudden you want to make every single day matter.
Yeah.
And so you guys are clearly doing that.
I'm so sorry that you've had to go through that, because I know that's scary and everything, but you've become a much beautiful, you're a beautiful woman, and I'm sure that molded you into who you are today, and have more passion.
Sure kicked my butt into high gear.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it does. So I don't. Can you see the screen, Carole?
Okay, take your mouse, and the screen where you and I are talking, that Google Hangout screen, there should be some buttons that'll come up on the far left side of your screen, and one of them will say screen share. It's the second one down.
Okay.
It's a green arrow.
Screen share. Okay.
So click that and see what happens.
Okay. There you go. So maybe,
We also have some stuff if I just want to
does that work?
hold
All
it
right.
up in the air.
Okay, yeah, Donna, yeah, and so Donna also has, yeah, she brought some actually live versions of her ones that you can actually maybe able to see what she can show on the screen as well. But yeah, so we can go through maybe a couple of things with her, and hopefully everything we have here. So this one, I mean, I think this was
Yeah.
really, really important. The cover photo is, you can see that was a client of hers, and that actually is the actual painting where she had on marble, and it's just such quality, because that's what one thing she's done, a lot of personal portraits for people, for their animals, mostly cats, but a lot of dogs as well. And see the pen ink watercolors, and hopefully you approve of everything that's up here.
Yeah, because dyslexia, I
Yeah.
cannot let Glenn
Yeah.
put
So
things up, and
Yeah.
and I may never put anything up
Yeah.
if it was, because
yeah. So that's okay. Yeah. So that's her Einstein pen and ink that she does. She's always has been Einstein's been one of her uh, what do I want to say, inspiring figures that she's always looked in, because he too was dyslexic.
yeah.
So and we know what he accomplished. So this is kind of her whimsical artwork, just something kind of fun that she did with this kind of whimsical cats that she really likes. Same thing here. Those are just this is kind of, I guess, her whimsical.
We're in my I'm not so proud of section.
Okay, I'm sorry,
That's
but
okay.
but let me talk about this one, because this was our cat Ivy, and she was really special to me. And
This is a gift too.
this is a gift to me. And she was a rescue cat that we had rescued, that had been abused, and I just fell in love with her. And she just,
She
over
was
the years,
blind in one eye.
yeah, she had kind of lost her vision in one eye. But when she passed away, I told Donna that I envisioned Ivy sitting in a field, or just enjoying the sun, sitting safely in a tree. And this is actually a famous Van Gogh painting that Donna created, and then she added Ivy and put her in the tree for me. So it was a gift to me. And actually, it's actually in this room we're sitting in. I can't really show you, but it's framed on one of the walls, and that was just really special that she did that for me. And then just some examples of different things. But like she said, this is I certainly would disagree that I think she's right that compared to some of the other artwork she has done, a lot of that is not. Let's see if we can find.
We don't visit our page very often.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't really try to promote myself so much.
Yeah.
So.
But the state of Georgia had a contest a few years ago
I'm
with
excited
a Georgia license plate, a spay and neuter tag, and Donna submitted hers in, and she did not win, but she came in the top 3. And this is an example of what she did with that. In fact, I kind of cheated, and I said, okay, you know what, I'm going to take this, and I'm going to say, but if you had one, it would have looked like that, because I took one of the samples and I just superimposed it on it. So that's what it would have looked like, because it definitely was very worthy. In fact, the Tommy Irvin, the Georgia Commissioner of Agriculture, he sent her a personal letter thanking her for the contribution, and he just really, he emphasized in the letter that it was a tough decision between her and the other 2, finalists. All 3 of them were great artwork, and they obviously would have been happy with any of those, but obviously, eventually, they had to pick one. This is her. I don't know if you're ever familiar with the cow parade when that was popular, but people were making cows and submitting to the cow parades. And Carole, did you ever have that down in Tampa where they have these life-size figures of cows that people sculpt and
No.
Well, it's a worldwide event. I think it still goes on, but if you go to the cow parade website, you can see people's ideas. So hers was we called it derriere. So it was a dairy cow with wings. So so she had fun with that. And then let's see. So her wine stoppers were something that she actually has, again, if we have enough time, she can just show you a couple of live ones because these are obviously just photographs. But what these were basically she would take a wine stopper, and then she would take clay and she would mold the clay, and then she would make dog heads and cat heads out of these, and would sell these. And people love these things. I mean, they're just great pieces of art. And in fact, she took, she can probably show you better, but you see this one, this is an Auburn tiger. She did actually the veterinarian that she worked for when she worked at Classic Cat. He went to Auburn University, and he was a big Auburn fan, so she made this. And I think, she actually has this. And so, yeah, so this is, in fact, maybe can I?
Is there a two-way screen or is it?
Yeah, can I? Okay, can you still see us, Carole? Okay, so.
I think he's not as good as the.
Yeah, so that's, okay, yeah, so there's the body, if you can see that. And then of course, this is the head.
He's a wine stopper.
Yeah, so it's a wine stopper. So you can use it. Our cat's about to jump up on Donna. He just came in for this nap. But yeah, so these are wine stoppers. So if you have a bottle of wine that you open.
Oh, I love the cat.
And she puts it and
he's stuck there.
Yeah.
That is precious.
And here comes
Romeo. And this is Romeo.
Hey, Romeo. We were waiting for them to come.
Wouldn't be a cat chat show without
That's right. It would not be a cat chat show without that. So, yeah. So there's Donna has another one there.
You want to sit up so he can sit? He's sitting right. He's sitting right here. You probably can't see him right there.
See him. Yeah,
Lift your head up,
so my hand is right there. If he pops up, you see his head.
And if I hold it still, oh, they're all from recycled items itself. The body is actually from a small ketchup. Yeah,
if you ever stay at a hotel and you get room service, and they bring your ketchup, little bottles.
I'm real big on recycled
so that's a little ketchup bottle.
And my clay is actually made from all recycled products as well.
And it was interesting. What we found was that because we would do these shows, and of course she did dogs and cats. And what we noticed with the dogs, that people that wanted the dog wine stoppers, they wanted a specific breed. They wanted a Dalmatian or a boxer or et cetera. For the cats, they were more whimsical. So we planned all this because we figured Romeo would provide lots of entertainment and keep our video going well. But just
that one,
this incredible art, creativity.
Birthday cake.
Yeah, there you go. Test it out.
Birthday. So the birthday cake. I don't think you can see that. What when cats approve?
Yeah, what when cats approve. That's right. Yes. So Donna showed you her, showed you her beanies. I know she said that. So she kind of went from that to this because obviously that served a purpose.
But I got to tell you a story why I started doing clay.
Okay. Yes.
With dyslexia, I read a book. My dyslexia, I actually get tapes from the Library of the Blind and Disabled, and I got a book that actually teaches children that have dyslexia how to learn their alphabet. So I thought, well, I'll try to learn, and I started getting some clay and started molding the alphabets, and the alphabets came out as cats.
Yeah.
So that's what got me really started into doing this, because before I was actually painting with people's portraits of their animals, and here's one that I did of someone's pets. Now these two cats did not live at the same time; they were painted in the painting, so
that's beautiful.
Thank you. And my major actually was in at the Art Institute was fashion illustration, so I really was, my heart just led into the cat. So that's where it kind of mushroomed into. And then I also done like little
ornaments
that are whimsical. As you know, though, for people that are cat lovers, small cat lovers love more whimsical, funny, silly things. Yeah, they're very light because it is actually a Christmas ball.
Yeah.
Underneath it that I painted, and then I molded the ears onto it itself.
That is just precious.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of art on your Facebook feed that is like a photograph. It looks like a photograph, and then there's like an overlay of beautiful colors, very bright colors. Is that something that you do, or are those just images that you have shared?
I didn't hear what.
I was just wondering, what? Say it again, Carole.
I've seen some pictures that you've posted on your Facebook feed that they look like they were photographs, but then they would be overlaid with a lot of really beautiful colors and sparkling light and that sort of thing. Is that work that you do, or are those images?
Yeah, some of them is my artwork, and some of it is other artists' artwork as well. I think I know which one you're talking about, and it's. I'm hoping I'm thinking of the same one, and I could say that that's my work, but I'm not sure without it in front of me. So.
I told Glenn when I was looking through your page, there's just so much beautiful stuff there, but there's no way to know if you did it or not. So
I guess I need to go back and title again. I just was sharing, and I kind of didn't want it to be about me, I guess, when I started doing the page. So it just kind of blossomed into just, my goal was to send out positive photographs and some of my artwork as well, anything that would do to nature, animals, and positive, to reinforce beauty back into the world and feed that vibration field. So well, that's funny.
Nope.
I guess both. But I guess we really weren't doing this for a business itself. It was more of a passion. I used to be, I guess, when I was in the art store or gallery, it was my business, and I did a lot of art shows, and I'd love to get back into it. I really would love to get back into it and have a purpose and be able to do some more artwork, for the cats or anything that could help raise money and awareness. And that, but the reason I had stopped there for a while was to focus on the healing from the, the cancer. So
yeah, I think in a lot of ways, again, the Cecil story is kind of got us thinking about a lot of things that maybe we've stepped away from a little bit, particularly with Dona's artwork, because she's such a phenomenal artist and just does such great work. And we're talking about maybe starting to do shows again. And of course, with Facebook, and as she had mentioned, we still, both of us are really new, even though I probably signed us up accounts 5 years ago. We just haven't done much with it. But just recently starting to realize, what a great venue it is for her to show what she can do, and of course, obviously for other purposes as well. But we're still learning and still trying to figure out how we can do that. But we're really excited about setting her up a whimsical art Facebook page, because again, she is really unlimited as how much stuff she can put out there, showing her different art, and we probably need to focus a little bit more on it, because she does have so much good stuff to show, and I think a lot of people would love to see some of that.
Such a huge range in your talent. Most artists have a certain look.
Yeah.
But you really encompass a wide variety.
She does. Oh, she'll be working on 5 different projects at one time, and they're all over the board in terms of what they are. There's not, like you said, because some artists become known for doing this or doing that, and she's an artist known for doing a lot of things. I could some of the things you can always look back on the page again, but it's done a lot of furniture restoration, things like that. I mean, we took when we first got married, we had someone gave us a piece of is an old cupboard that was. My dad said that was the ugliest thing he had ever seen in his life when we got it, and it was
He said,
ugly.
"Oh my God, what are you going to do with that?"
Yes, and
It's
she
the ugliest
she
thing.
stripped it by hand. As she kid, she probably lost some brain cells doing it, but she stripped it down to the base, repainted it, added tiger wood in herself decor. Then our china pattern we had for our wedding, she actually painted. Is a
Show that on the. Is it on
I don't have it on there.
the? Okay.
Port Marion china pattern. She actually painted on tile, cooked the tile, and then laid the tile in this cupboard, and just went from, as my dad said, the ugliest piece of furniture he'd ever seen in his life to probably the prettiest. And that is kind of an example of the things that she has done. I'm looking around this room, and pretty much every room in the house there are representations of her art in here, whether it's furniture or paintings or whatever. I think there's nothing. Of course, I look at her grandmother's china pattern because Donna really was very close with her grandmother. Her grandmother was an artist, and she did a lot of china painting on plates, and that's in fact that's something Donna would love to do, but you can't find anybody that teaches that anymore because it's kind of a lost art. But if you've ever seen a china pattern with flowers or something painted on it, where someone did that, that was what her grandmother's passion was.
Yeah, that's
That's
the
it.
piece.
There we go.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's it.
yes.
Yeah.
That's it. So you did find it.
It was on the Facebook page under
Okay.
a
Yeah.
subfolder.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it's just phenomenal job.
Well, thank you.
Well, now that you guys know how to use Google Hangouts, you could actually do that kind of training online.
That's
and I think
true.
a lot of people would love to tune. I would tune in for that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
thank
good.
you. Thank you. I don't know if something else I could mention is something I had no idea about that you brought awareness to me, and that is when I see pictures of people hugging pets, big cats, I see as someone saying, we love the animals, to see how passionate they are, that they actually are not harmful to people as much as they are. And I had no idea that the message was actually about people thinking they could pet the actually think that they could pet an animal without training or being raising helping animals, and that was not what I had thought. And I thank you very much for bringing that up, and maybe perhaps you can explain it a little better than I'm saying. But I think that a lot of people out there don't understand that, and I don't know how we can actually get the word out for everyone to understand that. Now, Glenn just mentioned the other day, and I had no idea that there were roadside places in Florida where people could pet the little kittens. I had no idea that even existed out there, and that they take these precious little animals, and when they grow up, and then
Yeah.
what they do to them, and I don't know how we could get that out to the average people to know that. Like, again, my cat's scratching it. Again, how we could actually, what we could do to make a difference to get that word out. What is there with that?
Yeah, I really appreciate how quickly you guys responded to that. And when you first mentioned that you had sent me your story and a friend request, I probably turn away, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 10 friend requests every day. And I do that because your personal account, you're limited to like 5,000 people.
Yeah.
And so I try to limit it to as it keeps growing, I try to limit it to the 5,000 people that I feel like are most apt to be able to share the message with the other cats.
Yeah.
But anybody who sends me a friend request and there's pictures of them or somebody else on their site hugging a cat, I just immediately, uh, not unfriend them, but not friend them.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's because people just don't know about that whole industry and don't know where it leads. And we were in that same spot back in the 90s. We would invite people to the sanctuary who thought they wanted to get a bobcat or a lynx or a cougar as a pet. And we would let them pet the cat because all that cat wants to do is pee on you. The entire time you're near that cat, all it wants to do is pee on you. And
Sure.
so we
Yeah.
thought, well, this was a good way because, you can tell people until you're blue in the face it's a bad idea. But when they get peed on, they know it's a bad idea. The problem
Yeah.
was when the internet came along, people were posting all of those pictures of them petting a cat, but nobody was getting that peeing experience. And so we felt like, okay, this is really sending a bad message. And that's why we stopped doing it back in
Yeah.
2003. And then, we've asked other places that run sanctuaries. We know that what they mean to be conveying is, I love these animals, they're special, we should protect them, and so they want to show that loving bond. But unfortunately, there are so many places that people can go and have their picture made with a cub. It's not
Yeah.
just Florida, it's everywhere. That it just drives that whole industry. So
Yeah.
we've had to kind of draw our line in the sand and
Yeah.
say,
Right.
none of
Yeah.
that stuff
Yeah.
here.
Well, and we appreciate the education on that too, because as Donna said, it's not something we had thought through, but it really made a lot of sense after you said that.
And I thought I took all of the pictures down, and then I realized when we were doing that little thing, I saw that I still, it's hard to see, sometimes when you put things, it's hard to know where everything's at.
Yeah,
So
I
that we're still
know.
learning. And I guess the gentleman that's in the photo, can you tell me, do you remember his name? He is really big at helping injured animals or homeless animals get back out into the wild. And he has a video which is really beautiful that says that he doesn't want people to do this. He just wanted to show how loving they are and how close you can actually stand to these beautiful cats. And so that if if someone comes and wants to hurt them, I mean
I guess
isn't that's just
I,
yeah.
it's funny. I guess part of the problem too is that people don't always think through things. We went to the Okefenokee Swamp years ago, which was around the Georgia-Florida border, and we were talking to one of the rangers, and of course they've got a lot of alligators there, and she said that there was one couple where I can't remember if it was the man or the woman, which one was the photographer and which one was sitting there, but one was trying to convince the other to sit on top of the alligator, take a picture because I guess they thought because they were in a national park that the alligators were trained that they wouldn't bite you. And so I guess the intelligence level, a lot of people are to the point where, again, the same thing is, you have to be careful how you project things on the internet, photographs, things like that, because people would, may automatically think, oh, yeah, I'll let this guy's hugging the lion. That would make a nice pet. And, I can certainly attest from our perspective, from our experience with having domestic cats, is that if they have a tendency sometimes to mark their territory or to use their claws and scratch things like that. I'm thinking as much of a problem they can cause behaviorally a small 10-pound domestic cat. I'm thinking a 300-pound, 400-pound tiger. I would imagine a claw scratching or sofa with one of those claws, which is a domesticated cat, would pretty much rip the sofa to pieces. So, that it always just leaves us scratching their heads, thinking, you know, people should think these things through because they make terrible, terrible pets. And if we can just learn to appreciate them and treasure them from afar, and of course, I always encourage that, for me, uh, I kind of, I can't remember if this was in what I wrote or if it was something I was just thinking, but I was, thinking to myself, if you're going to spend $55,000 for the right to shoot a lion that, you could buy the best photographic equipment out there, and you could take thousands and thousands of photographs, and you could have those, mounted and framed throughout the walls of your house, and you could even sell them for a profit, and you could sell them to other people. And I'm thinking, why can't you do that? Because again, it kind of goes back to me, and I'm sure that someone else would argue, it's a selfish act, because you're basically saying that I'm going to treasure this animal for myself. I'm not going to give anybody else a chance to watch him. And of course, the from everything that I've read about Cecil is that he was a very charismatic lion. I guess you could say that they said that he was almost appeared to be comfortable around the people, and it was almost like he was posing for people in the park, and it's like there was some part of him that almost kind of understood that people were going there to see him. And they talk about how the economic benefit of lions is that they're generally, they kind of equate them to be valuable of contributing as much as $50,000 a year per year every year toward those parks. So now that Cecil's no longer with us, it impacts the park, and other people no longer have that opportunity to see him. And when I watch those videos of him that people submitted, they're just so moving, and I'm thinking, we'll never be able to see that again. And that's just so sad, and it's selfish, because it doesn't give the rest of us, whether it's actually going there or watching a National Geographic show on them. I mean, that's what really bothers me, because we kind of look at ourselves. We look at ourselves as we're stewards. We should be stewards of our environment. And granted, if human was here as to have dominion over the world, over the animals, and over everything, having dominion doesn't mean destroying. It means being a steward, taking care of them. And I think we all need to look at it that way. I mean, I wish we all looked at it that way. I wish that people that felt that trophy hunting is right, if they would look deep and down the side and say, okay, well, how is this actually benefiting society as a whole? Because it's not. It's benefiting your own personal ego, that you can put that animal on above your fireplace, but it certainly doesn't benefit anybody else. And that's what really bothers me. And I just wish people would ask the more ethical and moral questions about these, get away from the legal aspect of it, because morally and ethically, you can't tell me anywhere in the stretch of imagination how this is right.
I think that is a beautiful note to end on. We're over an hour. I told you it was going to go fast.
You did.
And I think we're going to have to do this again, because there's so much more I think that we could talk about.
Yeah.
But it's hard to upload a video that's more than an hour long, because they get so big that they won't go.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For everybody else out there, this has been the Cat Chat Show with Glenn and Donna Williams. And please, if you enjoyed this show and other shows at bigcatrescue.org/cat chat, please go to the iTunes store and give us a good review. Until next time, thank you, and bye-bye.
Thank you, Carole. Bye.
Bye.